It's already week 10, and this is the place where we break down every Big Ten team, every Big Ten game this weekend. Locked On Big Ten starts right now. Let's go.
You are Locked On Big Ten, your daily podcast on the Big Ten Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Big Ten. I'm Craig Sheeman, 40 years as a sports talk show host and play-by-play announcer. I want to thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Hey, hit that free subscribe button as we get closer and closer to 25,000 subscribers. It's free. That way you never miss a single episode. And if you could share, like, and follow, that helps us out too. And you can hype YouTube videos as well. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. So week 10, every team, every game right here. Matt Rhule gets an extension. Guess he's not going to Penn State, huh? Plus, we will have our bold, fearless pigskin picks at the end. Stay tuned for all that. But let's jump into it. You know, when the Big Ten football schedule came out, I had 4 games circled on the calendar. I'm sure you did too. Oregon at Penn State, Indiana at Oregon, Penn State at Ohio State, and Ohio State at Michigan to close out the season. Now, 2 of those games have been played. I think they lived up to the hype. They're pretty good. But what about Penn State at Ohio State on Saturday? This isn't the game that we anticipated. I mean, Ohio State, still the number 1 team in the country. Penn State, not so much. So let's break it down. This game is at 12 noon on Fox, big noon on kickoff on Fox. Again, this was supposed to be Penn State's chance to show the world that James Franklin and his entire football program, that they could win the big one. And sure, it was going to be tough, and it was going to be on the road. And yes, Ohio State is the defending national champion. Either Penn State was going to show us that they're worthy or were worthy of their number 2 preseason ranking, or if they were to lose, then the narrative would continue that James Franklin could not win the big one. And, you know, only beating the teams that he's supposed to. That was the narrative. And while Ohio State, they've been on cruise control all season long with no glaring side effects, transitioning from quarterback Will Howard to new quarterback Julian Sayin. No problems whatsoever transferring from old defensive coordinator Jim Knowles to new defensive coordinator Matt Patricia and replacing 8 defensive starters. No problem. No problem. Now, Penn State, their season, colossal failure. There's no way to candy coat that. So James Franklin, he's since been fired. Starting quarterback Drew Aller out for the season with an injury versus Northwestern. And all of Penn State's goals that were within their grasp, they all look. When they lost, they were going into double overtime against Oregon. Everything was right there, and they lost it, and it fell apart. They lost. You know that old saying: "Don't let a team beat you more than once. Don't let a team beat you twice." You know, don't lose a game and let that still be in your head next week, and you lose that game. Penn State hasn't shaken that off yet. It's been worse. They can't shake off the regular season loss to Oregon. They suffered inconceivable losses to winless UCLA at the time and the home loss to Northwestern. That's when Franklin got fired. Then they lost to Iowa. You know, the loss to Oregon turned into 4 straight losses. So talk about don't get beat the next week. Don't let a team beat you twice. 4 losses spinning off of that Oregon loss, or 3 more losses in addition to that. So now we are going into November, and Penn State has yet to win a Big Ten game. And after, number 1 Ohio State, they still have number 2 Indiana on their schedule. But at some point, Penn State's going to break out of this nightmare, right? This team is still loaded. This team was still thought to be the number 2 team in the country at one point. They're not going to be Florida State and just, be horrible, are they? I think they're going to snap out of it at some point. The question is now, I mean, if there's a game that they're going to get up for, that they're going to want to put tape together against for both the NFL and also the transfer portal, they're going to get up for this game against Ohio State. We'll talk about this in our Pigskin Picks in a moment. Meanwhile, Rutgers is at number 23, Illinois. That game is also at noon on NBC, noon Eastern. The Fighting Illini have dropped a couple in a row after losing to Ohio State and Washington. And Ohio State was understandable because Illinois is a very good football team, but they're not at that level of Ohio State. And yet I thought they were near the top of that second tier of Big Ten teams that we like to talk about on this podcast. And I thought Washington is and was too. That's why I think last week is a disappointing loss for Illinois at Husky Stadium. And in fairness, it was one of the best games that Washington's put together all season long. Yet this week may be an opportunity for quarterback Luke Altmaier and wide receiver Hank Beatty to shine as they take on a Rutgers defense. It gives up a lot of points, frankly, if you want to be honest about it. So Rutgers could score too. So Ethan Kaliak-Manis, he's capable of putting up some big numbers. This team's coming off a thrilling road win at Purdue, where they kicked 2 field goals in the final 66 seconds of that game and just literally stole it from the Boilermakers. Meanwhile, number 2, Indiana continues to be the story. They're on the road this week. They're at Maryland. This will be the 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific game on CBS. Indiana, like Ohio State, is on cruise control. And if they don't mess up this road game, I'm predicting that next week they will be the number 1 team in the country when the College Football Playoff Committee puts out their first weekly poll. That's coming out Tuesday. I think Indiana's going to be 1, Ohio State's going to be 2. That's what I think. I think Indiana's resume is just a little bit better. So keep an eye on that. I think a quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, still very much in the Heisman mix. And you've got just as many offensive weapons at Indiana as Ohio State does, for example. And their defense, Indiana, the best tackling defense in the country. One thing to watch here is linebacker Aiden Fisher. He's the heart and soul of this defense. Shortly after his pick 6 interception against UCLA, he left the game. He had tweaked a knee. He did not return. There was no major damage. Curt Cignetti says that he is probable for Saturday. He has made 32 consecutive starts dating back to his days with Cignetti back at James Madison before transferring over to Indiana. Maryland, on the other hand, they've had some problems lately. They started out 4-0. They never trailed in those 4 games. Now they're 4-3. Do the math. They've lost 3 in a row. All 3 losses, I think, have been in heartbreaking fashion, but they're not to be taken lightly. And their freshman quarterback, Malik Washington, I think he's the real deal. I am predicting here on Locked On Big Ten that he will be the Big Ten freshman of the year, not Bryce Underwood at Michigan. And by the way, those 2, Maryland and Michigan, they meet on November 22nd. One thing that Indiana needs to be wary of, while they don't turn the ball over very much, they can do a great job taking care of the ball. Maryland's defense has 14 interceptions already this season, and they get them in bunches. So you got to watch out for that. Now, as you know, if you're an everydayer here, we have our podcast every day, but we go live on Saturdays. We pick the best game of the week, and we go live afterwards. So you get my real, raw post-game reaction. I get yours in real time in the comment section. It's a blast. We do it every Saturday. I was going to go right after the Penn State-Ohio State game, but given the precarious situation of Penn State now, I'm going to wait. I'm going to go after the second window of games after Indiana and Maryland is over so that I can talk about both. I am still going to talk about live on Saturday the Penn State-Ohio State game as well as Indiana and Maryland, all the early games, and we'll preview the night games. So we will go live. This will probably be about 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific is what I'm guessing right now. So the Indiana game will be over by then. So join us, put it on your calendar, and join us for all that tomorrow. We're looking forward to it as always. All right. I got a lot I need to do here. We still have more games to cover. Be sure to hit that free subscribe button down below. That way you'll never miss a single episode. And if you could share, follow, and like Locked On Big Ten, that helps us out too. Don't forget, we have a website where we not only put all of our podcasts, but there are links from your favorite Big Ten schools where you can get merchandise. You can get a shirt with your school logo on it, pennants, hats, all that stuff. Christmas 2 months away. It's all right there with our podcast being archived at talkbig10.com. All right, so details on Matt Rhule's new contract extension at Nebraska. Also, we got the blackout at Nebraska. They're hosting USC. We'll talk about that. Michigan's under the lights as well at the Big House. And Jonathan Smith looking to turn things around for Michigan State against Minnesota. So we got a lot to cover here. It's all coming up. Then We'll go on the record with our pigskin picks. It's all this episode of Locked On Big Ten. This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. Just like, and I don't think this guy gets enough attention, Rutgers' KJ Duff, the wide receiver. 6 catches, 241 yards last week, and a 72-yard touchdown versus Purdue. He delivered, and he moves people. He moved his team forward. He kept moving the game forward. So when you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten. And thanks for making us your first listen every day. And thank you for you everydayers out there. Appreciate that. Be sure and hit that subscribe button to help push us to 25,000 subscribers. And if you could share, follow, and like, that would be a great help. And don't forget our website, talkbig10.com. All right, let's continue previewing every team, every game in the Big Ten this weekend. Michigan State is at Minnesota. That's at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. It's on the Big Ten Network. Michigan State's in trouble. Or maybe I should just say Jonathan Smith is in trouble, their head coach. And going on the road to Minnesota is not going to make things easier. The Spartans, they're still looking for their first Big Ten win. And this game is a bit of a homecoming, by the way, for Michigan State defensive coordinator Joe Rossi, who came over from PJ Fleck's staff in Minnesota after being there for 7 years. And, Rossi recently came down from the booth. He had been calling plays upstairs, came down on the sidelines now, and he's got great energy on the sidelines. I mean, this dude is fired up, and the players, you can see they feed off of him. It's infectious. And frankly, it's the polar opposite of how Jonathan Smith's demeanor is on the sidelines for Michigan State. Now, Minnesota, until last week, their defense, it looked like it was getting their act together, right? They hadn't given up any touchdowns in their previous 6 quarters versus Purdue, and then keeping Dylan Rhule and Nebraska out of the end zone 2 weeks ago. Then they got drilled by Iowa, 41-3. And you can't talk about not giving up any touchdowns anymore because Iowa scored every way possible. Iowa scored through the air. They scored on the ground. They scored with special teams on a punt return. They scored via the defense with a pick 6, throw in a field goal. I mean, it was 31-0 at the half. Boom. Minnesota didn't know what hit them. They felt like they're playing Ohio State from a couple of weeks ago. So maybe returning home will help the Gophers here this week. I do like their young quarterback, Drake Lindsey. He's pretty good. They have a good running game. And I think this could be a decent quarterback matchup, by the way, with Drake Lindsey and Aiden Childs. So tune in for that. Now, those are the day games. Let's fast forward. We got a couple of games under the lights on Saturday night. Only 6 Big Ten games this weekend. Only 12 teams are in action, by the way. Purdue is at number 25, Michigan. That is at 7 o'clock Eastern on the Big Ten Network, part of the doubleheader coverage. Purdue's going nowhere. They're inventing ways to lose football games. 2 games ago, they gave up 14 points in 7 seconds in the fourth quarter to lose to the Gophers. And then last week, they gave up 2 field goals in 66 seconds to lose. There was the tying field goal by Rutgers with 1:06 to go. And then a deflected pass caught by the quarterback, fumbled. Rutgers gets it, and then boom, game-winning field goal. So now they go to the big house under the lights and take on a Michigan team that slowly seems to be getting its act together. Wouldn't you agree? Look, Michigan bounced back nicely, I think, from their disappointing road loss at USC. They've had wins since then against Washington and Michigan State. Of note, a couple of players and their health situation for Michigan. Let's start with running back Justice Haynes. He was back in the lineup last week after missing a game and a half and getting injured at USC with that torso upper body injury. But he seemed to hurt his ankle last weekend against Michigan State on a play in which he fumbled. I think he's trending toward playing, though, but we'll keep an eye on that. And then linebacker Cole Sullivan had what appeared to be a torso injury as well. That's what we're calling now, upper body injuries as well. And then graduate safety Rod Moore. This is a tough because he's been out the last 2 games. It looks like he has suffered another setback on his torn ACL from after 2 seasons ago. Remember, he played in the national championship game, 2023 season, January 2024. Then a few weeks later, working out, not even in spring ball yet, shredded his knee. So he missed all spring ball in 2024, missed the whole season of 2024, missed 2025 spring, and a lot of the summer. Finally worked his way into the lineup a few weeks ago, and it looks like he's had a setback. This is a hard story. It's a tough story for him. So now, in all fairness, Michigan is probably deep enough to handle Purdue this week with or without these players. So again, we'll talk about this game a little bit more in our Pigskin picks. Before we talk about USC and Nebraska, let's talk about the other big news that came down on Thursday. Matt Rhule, their head coach, got a 2-year extension through the year 2032. Now, remember, he was a Penn State grad. He was asked literally minutes after James Franklin got fired, hey, what do you think? Isn't that kind of your dream job? And, he said, that place is awesome. He did not say at the time, well, I'm at Nebraska forever. I mean, he said nice things about Nebraska. He said things about going in the right direction and all that, but he didn't say, no, I'm not interested in Penn State, because I think he really was interested in Penn State. However, Nebraska ended up giving him a contract extension that pretty much takes him out of this coaching cycle. It will increase his buyout from $5 million to $15 million. And he's in year 3. Just got this team bowl eligible for the 2nd straight year, something that had been missing. So he's doing this right. He's doing it like incremental steps, like a win better each year. But 6 wins already. They can have a really nice season before it's all said and done. So with this new deal, no real change in base compensation. He does increase his salary by $1 million if he makes the college football playoff. And his base salary this year is $8.5 million. That's top 15 in the country right now. But with retention bonuses that he has built in there, his average annual salary will be $11.7 million, which puts him in the upper tier of coaches. I mean, it's right up there with what Curt Cignetti just signed in Indiana with his extension last week. All right, so good news for the Huskers, I think. And you can put that beside them. Look, coaches could say they're interested or not interested. Here's what also happens. Either coaches leave to go take higher paying jobs, or they get paid more money to stay. I mean, Lane Kiffin, for example, whether he goes to Florida or LSU, or even if he stays at Ole Miss, they'll have to pay him more. He's going to get paid one way or the other. And I remember when Nick Saban retired from Alabama, a lot of coaches got pay raises just to stay, so they didn't go take that Alabama job. Nevertheless, let's talk about this game a little bit. USC at Nebraska, that's at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, you USC fans, on NBC. It's a Saturday night game of the week. It's a blackout. Everybody's wearing black under the lights in Lincoln. It's going to be a pretty rowdy atmosphere. In short, USC's been playing, I think, fairly well offensively, while Nebraska has not. Again, Nebraska at 6-2 bowl eligible, still thinking about this college football playoff chase. Both of these teams are thinking about the college football playoff chase. But let's start with Nebraska. Dylan Rhule. Remember, he had that 3-interception game 3 weeks ago versus Maryland. The offense hasn't thrown for more than 200 yards in 3 of their last 4 games. Rhule is getting knocked around and sacked at an alarming rate, I might add. Gophers got him 9 times 2 weeks ago, so that was bad. Meanwhile, the Trojans sitting at 5-2, coming off that loss to Notre Dame. Now, Lincoln Riley may not survive if we start picking up a 3rd or 4th loss here. So this is like a must-win game for Lincoln Riley as well, especially if he wants to have any playoff hopes at USC. Meanwhile, we all know about USC's Jade Mayaba and his passing attack. And I should point out, though, it has been the Trojans' running game that has been pretty good lately. The Notre Dame game, notwithstanding, that was not great. But in Big Ten play, USC's been averaging more than 6 yards per carry, even though they're down to their 3rd and 4th string running backs at this time due to injuries. But this is where we talk about the running game. This is where Nebraska can hang with USC. Emmett Johnson, very good. He's averaging just under 6 yards a carry himself, 5.7 to be exact. And he's got a nose for the end zone. He's got 9 touchdowns rushing. He's got another one receiving. It's pretty good. This could be an entertaining ball game on Saturday night. So we look forward to all that. Meanwhile, big week for buys. Washington, Oregon, UCLA, Iowa, Wisconsin, Northwestern, all on bye weeks here, getting ready for the final stretch in the month of November. If you are new to our podcast, we always have a great feature at the end of the program. We do this every day. We have something every Monday. We do my top 10 Big Ten observations for the weekend. I'll do this on Monday after this weekend as well. Tuesdays, we do Tuesday tweets. Follow us on X, at Twitter, at Talk Big Ten. Wednesdays, we power rank the conference. That's always fun. Thursdays, we do Big Ten Classics and live action on the Big Ten Network. But on Fridays, we go on the record with our bold and fearless pigskin picks. All of our predictions, every Big Ten team, every Big Ten game, we go on the record and we tell you what we think is going to happen. And that is coming up in a minute here on Locked On Big Ten. It's basically the weekend here, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. And just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. I'm gonna highlight on one here, right here. Rutgers wide receiver KJ Duff, 6 catches, 241 yards, and a 72-yard touchdown against Purdue. They delivered. He delivered for the Rutgers in a big, big way. And just like KJ Duff delivered for Rutgers, DoorDash delivers on your Saturdays as well. So here's the deal with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday that you order. If you stack up, order every Saturday. Just start making streaks. Every Saturday you're going to order. You can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. And this Saturday, you keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Games are exciting. We're fans. We like them. You can make them more exciting with FanDuel. Have something on it, right? Let's start with the NBA now, since that's back in action. There's no better place to get in on NBA action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. You know, even if you miss the start of the game, you can jump in-game live betting, ride the hot hand, your hunch. FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live in-game bets with a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout on a game you already had some action on. Keeps the game very, very exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head over to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks for checking us out here on Locked On Big Ten. Always appreciate you guys, especially you everydayers. Let's go on the record now with our pigskin picks and how we think this weekend is going to go. Only 6 Big Ten games on the slate. If you're on audio only, and by the way, we're on audio as well. If you like Apple or Spotify, you can check that out. We'll go on the screen here. And I want to start this off with Penn State at number 1, Ohio State. Ohio State is a 20.5-point favorite. The number is 44.5. Here, I told you, I made a big case in the preview of this game in our opening segment. Penn State has talent. They've been embarrassed. And look, they're not going to get up for a lot of these games down the stretch in a way they have nothing to play for, but in a way they do. And they want to show off their best against the best. They're going to get up for this game. So, but the play here, and I don't usually do this, the play is Ohio State minus 10.5 in the first half. I would take Penn State there. Penn State plus 10.5. I think it's going to be a close game in the first half. Now, does Ohio State pull away? Do they maybe even eventually cover? Look, I think they will pull away. I don't think they covered the number 20.5. I think Penn State gives them everything they've got. Ohio State still wins, but it's a more interesting ball game than the 20.5-point spread. I also would take the over. Well, you know, I take that back. I could be on the lower scoring side because, first of all, Ohio State has given up 41 points all year. Penn State gave up 42 against UCLA in one game. But I'm thinking Jim Knowles may dial up something for Ohio State. I'd take the under here. This could be a 20 to high teens, 21 to it's going to be closer. It's going to be a closer game, and I would take the under. It's weird line, but that's what's going to happen here. Rutgers is at Illinois, number 23 Illinois. Illinois, I think, will pull away here. Too many weapons, minus 12.5 and cover. I know that's a big number at 62.5. Take the over. Both of these teams are going to score in the 30s. Both of them. Take the over on that one. Meanwhile, number 2, Indiana is at Maryland. They are 21, and that's a typo there. And Indiana's the favorite, not Maryland. That should be plus 21.5 for Maryland. So Indiana's a 21.5 point favorite here. The number is 50.5. Indiana will pull away and cover, and this game will fly past the over 2. Indiana's going to score a lot of points, and Maryland has some potential to put some points up, even though Indiana's defense is really good. So I like Indiana to cover, and I like the over in that game. Minnesota is a 3.5 point favorite in this game against Michigan State. Being that it is at home, I think Minnesota covers this number easily. And here's another one, 44.5. I would go over. I think Minnesota's going to score. Michigan State's not going to get shut out by any means, so this game will push over the number there. Purdue at number 25, Michigan. Michigan, a 21.5 point favorite. Now, historically, I don't like Michigan to cover numbers because they run the ball a lot. They chew up time, fewer possessions. However, in this particular case, Michigan's going to run away with this game. Literally going to run away with this game. They will cover the 21.5 and do most of the work in getting over the 49.5. It looks like I like all the overs here this week. And then there's USC and Nebraska. USC a 6.5 point favorite. Nebraska 6.5 point dog at home. Electric atmosphere. I think USC with its offense will win. They'll win by more than a touchdown. They will cover. And I also like the over here. So 6 for 6 on overs here this weekend, right? Let me double check. Except for the Ohio State Penn State game. Okay, 5 of the 6. I like the overs. Everything else, that first game though with Penn State and Ohio State, I like the under. But there you have it. Those are our bold predictions for the weekend. That's how we see it. Do you agree or disagree? Let me know. Hit me up with the comment section there. But we always go on the record with our pigskin picks each and every week. All right. Stay tuned for the latest Big Ten news, analysis, and opinion right here on Locked On Big Ten. Don't forget, we're going live tomorrow after the Indiana-Maryland game to talk about that game and the Ohio State-Penn State game. And we'll do a complete recap of every team, every game that has played up to that point, and then the 4 games, and then we'll preview the 2 night games. All right, so join us live, probably about 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific, right here on Locked On Big Ten on Saturday. Before you go, hit that free subscribe button, please. That helps us out. We're in a Big Ten club together that way. And if you want to check out a second listen, we did a ton of podcasts this week. Go ahead, second listen, check out what we did earlier this week there. And if you could share, follow, and like, because if you're a Big Ten fan, and I know you are, share. Got a little arrow. I know you know other Big Ten people that may not know we're out here each and every day. So, final note, college football fans, Locked On and Fire TV, presenting the College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll from Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation along 2-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson and former college star Jesse Holley, and all of our Locked On experts come together and just give you everything you need to know for the games coming up, the college football preview that only Locked On can do. Catch the College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. That'll do it for us. Enjoy the games. Catch us live tomorrow around 7 o'clock-ish Eastern time. And then Monday, our big, massive recap as well. We got all that going on for you. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you next time. I'm Craig Sheeman for Locked On Big Ten.